Hi everyone, welcome to channel that shares knowledge about comprehensive personal development through good books. Have you ever experienced this? When someone reprimands or accuses you, the more you explain, the more others think you are making excuses. When you hear opposing opinions, you prove and clarify that you are not wrong, but you are considered unreasonable, and the result is always the opposite of your original intention, which is wanting to explain to others. But in the endless debates and defenses, we reduce our own credibility, exhaust our spirit, and still cannot escape the suspicion or criticism of the other person. Then, going from resentment to arguing, and finally because of the conflict, the relationships appear cracks that cannot be repaired. In psychology, this is called the trap of self-justification. That is, the more you prove and explain I'm right, I'm reasonable, I'm innocent, the more others will think that you are wrong, you are unreasonable, and you are more at fault. More than 100 years ago, the master of short stories, Guy de Maupassant, clearly stated the harm of falling into this paradox of self-justification through the short story The Piece of String. Maupassant said that the misunderstandings of others are like a rope that binds you. The more you care, the more you justify, the tighter the rope will be, causing you to gradually suffocate between self-doubt and self-destruction. Today, Better Version would like to share with you a topic called, Don't Try to Explain Yourself, based on Guy de Maupassant's short story The Piece of String. We hope to help us all look back at whether we are falling into the trap of self-justification, and how to make wiser choices in dealing with ourselves and others. Now, let's listen. Are you tying yourself up with a rope? The character Mr. Hawchcorn is a farmer who lives his whole life frugally and saves money. He could not bear to throw away anything. Clothes and shoes, no matter how old or torn, were all sewn again. One time, on the way to the market fair in town, he saw a short piece of rope. As a person who was familiar with a poor life, he immediately thought of the many uses of this piece of rope when he would need it. So, he quickly bent down to pick it up and carefully rolled it up. When he held up the rope to look at it, he accidentally caught the eyes of Malandane. This person had been in conflict with him for a long time in buying and selling cattle. Not wanting his enemy to see him picking up even a small piece of rope, he immediately hid it in his cloak, then pretended to look for something on the road. After that, he went towards the fair, head held high, but his back slightly bent from embarrassment. After wandering around the market for a while, he went to a restaurant to rest, and everyone was talking about someone losing their wallet. But while he was listening intently, unexpectedly 2 police officers came and took him to the police station for questioning. It turned out that his enemy had reported him to the police, saying that he was the one who picked up the wallet. He cried out in injustice and panic, taking out the rope to defend himself and asking the police to search him. The police did not find anything and temporarily released him, telling him to wait for a summons later. But as soon as he stepped out of the police station, curious people surrounded him, asking curiously about the details. He had to take out the rope, explain clearly, and turn his coat and trouser pockets inside out to prove there was nothing inside. Everyone laughed out loud after listening. No one believed what he said. He was so angry that he led everyone to where he found the rope and described the entire story again. However, people still shook their heads and scoffed at him. Don't pretend anymore. Not knowing what to do, he walked around town explaining the story to everyone, but he spoke from morning to night, exhausted, and still could not clear away other people's suspicions. Just as he was collapsing, news spread throughout town that a hired worker had confessed to the police that he was the one who found the wallet and had returned it to the owner. After hearing the news, Hawchcorn was relieved. He happily ran out of the house, declaring his innocence to everyone, but unexpectedly, the rumors outside became even more absurd. Some people guessed that he was the mastermind, having bribed the hired worker to take the blame for him. Others suspected that he and the worker were accomplices, and when the affair was revealed, they only just returned the money. The rumors made him suffocate, unable to breathe, lost his appetite, and to the point where he no longer had the mind to continue farming. From then on, he went around the village every day telling everyone about his injustice, but people only laughed and whispered to others, "This is lying and making excuses." Like a deflated balloon, the farmer became withered under the torture of the rumors from everyone around him. His spirit became increasingly depressed, his body gradually weakened, and he finally died in depression. Why did the old man have to try every way to explain to others? You will see that from the beginning, the farmer quickly hid the rope when he was caught and felt embarrassed about this, to his many attempts to explain after being misunderstood as picking up and not returning lost property. All these behaviors stem from a deep fear in his heart, which is not wanting others to judge him as poor. In reality, just like the old man, in life we often encounter moments when we are misunderstood or blamed by others. Instinctively, most people will immediately want to explain or clarify, even fear being misunderstood. You strive to please others, trying to get others to have a good impression of you. But in reality, every time you rush to justify yourself and prove yourself, those reactions show one thing: you are trying to protect your own big ego, and are also trying to cover up a weak and unconfident side deep inside. That is why you cannot agree with other people's opinions, because agreeing will make you feel that your ego is threatened, so you need to resist and want to immediately express your own thoughts as if life is only complete when you are recognized by others. But as the author of the book Conversations with God said very correctly, as long as you worry about what others will think of you, they can turn you into a slave. Before blame, accusation, all your reactions will be useless. The explanation at this time will be seen as an excuse. The more you try to defend yourself, the more ridiculous others will find you. The rope that the old man took out to explain was a symbol that the author used to indicate the truth that we always want to protect, but in the eyes of others, it is just unreasonable. The more you hold on to it, the more the rope will seem like a noose around your neck, and if you struggle to break free, the tighter the rope will tighten, finally leading to suffocation. The best way at this time is to stop struggling, but how? The answer is to be quiet. We often think that silence is weakness, is accepting other people's opinions, but in reality it is not like that. Silence is the most powerful way to argue. People with strong inner selves can maintain a state of calm when faced with any reaction from outsiders. But how is it that silence brings inner strength rather than expressing avoidance and running away from the problem? Silence is when misunderstood and no justification is needed. There is a story like this. At an art exhibition in England, an artist held water in his mouth and sprayed it evenly on the paper. When he was about to finish painting the peony flower, someone saw this and loudly mocked, "Spraying water with your mouth and calling it the art of painting? That's ridiculous." At this time, all eyes were on the artist, but he just smiled, said nothing, and continued to work on the painting. After that, someone asked him, "This is clearly a method of dripping ink in painting. You only need to say a few words to silence them immediately. Why don't you explain?" The artist replied, "If that person is truly interested in painting, without explanation, they will be able to understand it themselves. But if they are not truly interested, no matter how much I explain, they will not understand." Everyone's perceptions are different. We cannot avoid misunderstandings and disagreements. When someone understands us, without saying much, we can understand each other. But people who do not understand you, no matter what you say, will only cause more conflict. Bruce Lee once said, "The only way to win in an argument is to avoid arguing." Remember that there are many times in life, because you never stop explaining what kind of person you are, will only be useless. Because there are people who only want to hear what they want to hear, see what they want to see. A person with a strong inner self will not need to argue over gains, losses, right, wrong with others. As the saying goes, you stand on top of the mountain, look far away at the vast ocean, but people at the middle of the mountain can only see the desolate scenery. Each person has a different level of perception, way of thinking, even vision and perspective. Therefore, when perceiving a problem, it will definitely also be different. Sometimes not arguing, not rebutting is respecting yourself and that person. When you keep silent, it can help both calm down the conversation and avoid causing trouble for yourself. Usually only the weak ego always lives in the eyes and opinions of others, and always wants to prove itself. People who are truly strong do not need to serve other people's systems of evaluation, and only need to focus on doing their own thing well. TNH LNG la ki imt viesngi ng, kong swa moyes horingi bienden. Besides refuting others, many people in life also tie themselves up by refuting themselves. When suspected, they will immediately blame themselves first. For example, just a small mistake at work makes them feel guilty and depressed. There is a little unhappy thing at home, and they immediately blame themselves for not paying enough attention to their loved ones. Seeing their lover disappointed, they keep thinking that they are incompetent and cannot give that person a better life. In the book that I introduced before, The Frog Goes to the Psychologist, it was said that there is no criticism stronger than self-criticism, and there is no judge more severe than ourselves. Let's stop self-criticizing, accept your strengths and weaknesses, pull yourself out of the mire of self-doubt. When you no longer doubt yourself, any definition or conclusion from others cannot hurt you. TNH LNG La Ki Ri Vau KHN Co, Kong KL. When misunderstood, many people like to go around complaining and discussing with others, hoping that someone will understand and comfort them. There is a saying, never complain to anyone. 80% of people do not care, and the other 20% consider it a joke. I often hear people say, "Oh, I am so afraid of that ABC guy calling to confide. Every time he tells me, it takes a few hours and then he cries so much that it is unbearable." If you are one of those ABC friends, then when you hear this comment, do you still want to find that person to tell your troubles to? Maybe many people easily think, those who say this are my friends, who are not willing to share, and then gossip behind my back. Next time, I won't talk to them anymore, but go find someone else. Do you know if other people don't think like that? No matter who it is, if it is the first few times, they may be willing to listen to you. But the next times, if you keep complaining, will they get annoyed and avoid you? When I made a short video titled "Never Tell Your Troubles to Others," some of you commented and expressed disagreement, saying that such advice was extreme. Sometimes we need to find a close friend to confide in, and it is better than nothing. People believe that a good friend is willing to listen to us confide and consider complaining and confiding as two different things. But do you realize that the word confide means to tell, and tam refers to the secret things in your heart? If your heart is full of suffering, then you have turned confiding into complaining. I know that everyone has difficult times, but the pain in our hearts is often not important to others, and no one likes to listen, having to take on negative energy forever. Usually, in life, if you complain "I'm being bullied by colleagues," there will definitely be someone thinking, "How can you be so bad that colleagues hate you?" You tell others that "My husband is treating me badly and I want a divorce," there will be people who think, "You must be a certain way for your husband to treat you that way." Therefore, it doesn't mean that other people are mean-spirited, but because humans are animals that like to reason. We always think that there must be fire if there is smoke. No one can experience your life, so other people's opinions will be subjective, and may backfire and cause you even more serious hurt. Therefore, do not complain. Silently train yourself to be calm in the face of all difficulties. Read more books to enrich your thinking and inner self. When you are strong, you will naturally not be afraid of any suffering, but you can accept it with a balanced mindset, and be sure that no injustice can become a rope that binds you. TNH LNG Laki GP Phi A with acute NHGA, Che Bai, Kong CNBC Min. The next string that you don't want to throw away is the judgment and criticism of others. In life, we often encounter people who behave puzzlingly. They are good at putting others down, trying to drag you into a cycle of negative emotions. You speak reasonably with them, you present the truth, but they pretend not to see it. And some people love to use their subjective opinions to give advice to others. When you like reading, there will always be someone who mocks you as a know-it-all. When you exercise, someone will say that only those with too much free time can play sports. Even when you want to take an exam, study further, study abroad, there will always be someone who advises, "Why study so much? What will you do with all the education? Go out there to find a job or start a business, you'll make more money." Faced with people like this, it is very difficult for you to explain to them the joy of learning, the benefits of exercising, as well as the satisfaction and fulfillment of improving yourself, because they have never experienced it and are also not willing to experience those things. Then, no matter how rich your language is, they will not understand. Because the more you explain, the more it will show a lack of recognition and self-confidence in the face of those judgments or criticisms. Many people are often resentful and annoyed. Some people find ways to change to comply with other people's opinions. If you are resentful, you may fall into a cycle of complaining or develop depression. And if you chase after the opinions of society to change yourself, in the end, you will always be the loser, wasting both time and mental energy. There are also people who, when hearing such judgments and criticisms, immediately argue back or attack the other person's weaknesses. But when arguing, there will usually be only two results. 1. The other party will respond, causing conflict and hatred. 2. You will be dragged down into the same miserable fate, tying your own strings. In reality, we don't need to expect to be able to be in tune with everyone or to please them. A writer expressed his view when being insulted by a malicious colleague like this: "He curses me every day, which proves that his life cannot lack me. And I don't care, which proves that my life can do without him." Talk to people who understand you. Share your views on life with people who understand you. Don't waste words with people whose energy frequency is out of tune with you. Simply, you cannot wake up someone who does not want to wake up, or let that person wake up on their own path. Let go of your sensitivity and weakness when you hear other people's sharp words. Be silent and turn away. Refusing to be hurt by them is the wisest choice. In fact, the strings that the author Maupassant tells us about are everywhere. They are baseless rumors, as well as harsh criticisms and unpleasant nagging in daily life. If you let these strings bind you, they will suffocate you with a feeling of suffocation, leading to depression and self-destruction. Most of the pain in people's lives comes from caring too much about other people's opinions and always wanting to prove a big and beautiful self to the outside world. Writer Tam Marrow said, "Your explanations about me cannot express even a millionth of myself, but all the rest is an expression of who you are." Judgments and criticisms are just one-sided opinions that cannot affect your life, nor can they define your personality. Take control of yourself. Do not need to pay attention to the noise outside, and do not need to try to force anyone to acknowledge you. Before any misunderstandings, before any scolding and unreasonableness, silence is the most powerful solution for you. And I hope that silence will create an inner strength for you. Let yourself know that it is time to take off these invisible chains. Thank you for listening. If you find this video useful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to watch the latest videos every week. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next videos.